When Kevin got to his office at Williams Media, he found out that the company's shares were about to tank. He suspected that the Williams family was behind the manipulation of stocks in the largest companies in Chicago. He called his Uncle Thomas to find out if he was behind it. The family wanted him to come back to New York to talk it out with his grandfather. Kevin didn't answer him, he just hung up the phone. Then he tapped on his desk while he thought about what to do. He couldn't understand how the Williams family had suddenly found enough money to do this. Their situation was desperate. After thinking for a while, Kevin decided to call Mitchell Cook, Adriana Wright, Gilbert Rhodes, and the others to come to an emergency meeting at his office. Within an hour, they'd all arrived. "Mr. Williams, what's going on? Why did the Williams family suddenly launch this financial attack on Chicago?" Adriana was the first to ask.
"With their influence, they'll have no trouble taking over all the major industries in the city. But the way they're doing it, they'll destroy the entire economy," Cook said bitterly.
As the most prominent business leaders in Chicago, they naturally found who was behind this madness, but they didn't understand the reason behind it. Gilbert Rhodes suddenly stood up, looked directly at Kevin, and asked, "Mr. Williams, are they doing this to get even with you?" It's useless to dwell on that now. The important thing is that the Williams family has already made their move, Kevin said stoically. Hearing this, Cook and the others were unsure how to respond to the threat. "Let's not get pessimistic. The reason I called you here today is to discuss countermeasures," Kevin said confidently. "Mr. Williams, just tell me what to do. We'll support you with all we've got, no matter what," Emo Squire said very frankly. "That's right. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today," Adriana said optimistically. Mitchell Cook and Gilbert Rhodes didn't say anything, but they nodded in agreement. Kevin thought for a moment and said, "Although the situation looks critical, it doesn't mean that the Williams family will definitely succeed. The first step we need to take is to stabilize the stock market. Let's use our money to push back at them."
"Kevin is right. We definitely can't avoid it. They're playing rough, so we will too. Even if it kills us, we'll make sure they don't get out of this unhurt," Mitchell Cook said forcefully. Within an hour of the meeting, everyone in the stock exchange was shocked. As everyone watched, the Williams Group stepped up and invested $3 billion. After that, Mitchell Cook, Adriana, and the others followed suit. Each of them took billions of dollars and poured everything they could into the stock market. The enormous transfers of funds attracted everyone's attention. When the stock market closed in the afternoon, they had managed to stabilize Chicago's financial position. Cook and the others promised that they would follow Williams Media's lead and match Kevin's actions. They vowed to protect Chicago's financial base, even if it cost them their lives and their fortunes. That night, the Jones family held a meeting in their mansion. "How much of our stock fell today?" Grandma Jones asked with a gloomy expression. "Grandma, our shares dropped by 60%, one of her nephews said with a depressed look on his face. "Grandma, I have a suggestion, but I don't know if everyone will agree." "Oh, what do you suggest?" "Didn't Williams Media lead the way today? Why don't we take half of our shares and buy into their company?" Jason explained carefully. "That way, however this turns out, we'll at least be able to maintain half of our wealth." "That's right. We can ask Williams Media for help," one of his uncles replied. But they still weren't sure if Williams Media would go along with this. They also weren't sure they'd be able to work together. Kevin, who was standing next to Lily, frowned slightly when he heard this. He instantly understood Jason's ultimate goal. "Lily, what do you think about Jason's proposal?" "It's up to you to decide, Grandma," Lily said with a sullen look on her face. The Jones Corporation shares were dropping in value and they were practically bleeding money. They didn't see any other way to stop it. "All right, since you said that the decision is up to Grandma, then you'll have to contribute 50% of the company's shares," Jason said deviously. "Jason, what do you mean? What right do you have to make my wife turn over all her shares? 60% of the company's shares are now in Lily's hands. If she doesn't do this, then who will?" Jason said with a sour look on his face.
If she still considers herself to be a member of the Jones family, then she needs to do this right now. Jason, you have no shame. How dare you disagree with me? Jason grumbled. From what you're saying, it sounds like Lily isn't willing to go along with this plan anyway. Lily, what do you think we should do? Grandma Jones asked in a slow, calculating voice. Grandma, as long as you think it's appropriate, I have no objections. No, Kevin shouted. What did you say? Grandma Jones said as she looked at Kevin angrily. If we must use our shares for this transfer, Grandma, you should contribute 20% and my wife should give 30%. Moreover, after the crisis is resolved, the shares should revert to their respective owners, Kevin said matter-of-factly. How dare you? Grandma Jones yelled as she banged her fist on her armrest. Do you have the right to speak here? Get out! Grandma Jones stared at Kevin menacingly. Kevin suddenly sneered and said, You people are really funny. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at the Jones family. You do consider yourselves to be a family, don't you? How could you be so desperate? First, you want to use my wife and exchange her for Merriweather shares. Now that the shares are in her hands, you want to trick her into giving them back to you. Can't you see how funny that is? Everyone stared at him awkwardly, but none of them refuted him because they knew he was telling the truth. Someone, throw him out of here! Who's willing to take the first swing? Kevin knew they wouldn't try anything. They'd all seen how he pulverized Merriweather in just a couple of minutes. All right, Kevin, Lily said as she suddenly stood up and took him by the hand. She turned to Grandma Jones and said, Grandma, it's getting late. Let's talk about this again tomorrow. When Kevin got to the office the next day, Miss Wilson had already been waiting for him for half an hour. Sir, many of our senior executives want to have a meeting with you. Okay. Have them wait for me in the meeting room in half an hour. Next, Kevin checked the company's stock situation on his computer. As the markets opened, their share prices fell by 10%. By now, they had already lost hundreds of millions. Kevin sighed slightly and took out the bracelet that he'd bought from Reuben at Phoebe's antique store. What's the use? While he was turning the bracelet over and over in his hand, he started to feel more relaxed and confident. That's odd, he thought to himself. Then he took a closer look at the stone that was set in the bracelet. It wasn't a green emerald at all. It was actually a green tourmaline. How could he have made such a rookie mistake? But it did explain why he was drawn to it in the first place. Kevin slowly put the bracelet on the table. After thinking for a moment, he decided to call Officer Emmett to ask her opinion. After all, she had set him on the path to making herbal remedies. Maybe she knew something about this too. Hello, Kevin? What do you want? Officer Emmett answered in a surprised tone. I was wondering what you might know about green tourmaline. I was wondering when you might ask me something like that, she said frankly. A lot of people believe that certain stones can help you to focus your energy to relax or work on your health. Things like that. Interesting, Kevin smiled and said. I felt drawn to a tourmaline bracelet the other day at the antique store. What do you think? Why should I tell you? Officer Emmett said jokingly. I'm serious, Kevin insisted. I'll tell you, but you need to say please, Officer Emmett replied mischievously. Come on, I'm serious. Kevin was starting to get frustrated. He knew she was just teasing, but he didn't have a lot of time for this today. Come on, just once. What's the magic word? Officer Emmett tried again. Okay, please, Kevin said in a very low voice. I'm sorry I can't hear you. Could you speak up? Officer Emmett said in a satisfied tone. Kevin took a deep breath and said very clearly, Please. That's better, Officer Emmett said. Come to the downtown Luxbank's office in an hour. Don't forget to bring the bracelet. I'll explain everything to you then. See you later. She hung up before Kevin could say goodbye. Miss Wilson came into Kevin's office as soon as he put his phone in his pocket. Mr. Williams, all the senior executives are waiting for you in the conference room. Kevin nodded and left the office. This was the first high-level meeting that Kevin had held since he took over Williams Media, so a lot of them didn't have a great impression of his leadership abilities. As soon as he walked into the conference room, one of the vice presidents stood up and said, "Mr. Williams, we can't fight this anymore. Even if we win, we'll suffer heavy losses." The executives were all panicked about what the Williams family was doing to their company. They were willing to give up and let them buy them out if that was what it took to save Williams Media. Kevin sat patiently and listened to them. Finally, Kevin's eyes swept across the room before he slowly said, "Are you all done?" "Sir, I strongly recommend that we give in," one of the older, more experienced executives said firmly. "How much money did the Williams family offer you to make you react like this?" When he said this, the entire meeting room grew quiet. Kevin leaned forward in his chair and looked everyone in the eye one by one before he said, "I came to this meeting today to tell you something. If anyone feels that fighting the Williams family is a mistake, please leave now." Then Kevin sat back in his chair feeling very confident and relaxed. He knew that they would get through this, but he just wasn't sure how. Kevin was meeting with the senior executives at Williams Media. They were panicking because of all the pressure the Williams family was putting on them. But Kevin was confident that they could get through this. Kevin turned to Miss Wilson and said, "You're authorized to transfer any amount of funds necessary. Our first goal is to stabilize the stock market as much as possible." After he said this, Kevin got up and left. He went straight down to the parking garage and got in his to drive to the downtown branch of Lux Bank. When he got to the bank a while later, he was lucky to find some street parking. Kevin decided to leave the bracelet in his car before he walked inside. Because of the volatile stock market over the past few days, many people were worried about losing their life savings, so there was a crowd in the bank trying to withdraw their money. Kevin went straight to the VIP area because he figured Officer Emmett would be waiting for him there. But before he got to the teller's window, he was stopped by a staff member. "Hello, sir. How may I help you?" the woman said with a smile. "I don't need any help, thanks," Kevin said. "I'm just looking for someone." Judging by Kevin's clothes, the woman immediately determined that he was just an ordinary customer and wasn't qualified to go to the VIP section. "Sorry, sir. These windows are reserved for VIPs. No one else is allowed in here. If you're looking for someone, you can wait over there by the door," the woman said icily. "I also have some business to take care of. Can I go ahead?" Kevin asked politely. "Sir, you can go to the regular customer area to do your business," she said with a fake smile. Then the woman thought to herself, the customers in the VIP area are all worth over $1 million. Kevin, who was wearing sloppy ordinary clothes, probably didn't earn more than $20,000 a year. "I'd like to make a withdrawal," Kevin said helplessly. He was starting to get irritated. "You can make a withdrawal from the ATM by the entrance," the woman said impatiently. She didn't want to waste any more time with Kevin. Kevin frowned. He thought that he was pretty handsome. How come he kept getting this kind of reaction from people? Then he took a deep breath and looked at her name tag. "I'll just stand here and wait, Miss Gray. It shouldn't be long, okay?" "No, sir. This is the VIP area. I'm afraid you're disturbing our customers," Miss Gray said in disgust. "Please move along." Their conversation was starting to attract attention. The VIP customers were annoyed by his intrusion. How could a poor man like him dare to come into their private section? Kevin took another deep breath and said to her, "You're giving me no choice. I've decided that I'm going to withdraw all my money from your bank." "I'm sorry, but you don't seem to understand. There's an ATM in the lobby," she said impatiently. "If you don't leave this area immediately, I'll be forced to have you removed by security." "Miss Gray, I'd like to withdraw $2 million in cash immediately," Kevin said as he took out his bank card and slapped it in her hand. The VIP onlookers started to whisper to each other. Did he really say he was withdrawing $2 million? He's not fooling anyone. Just look at how he's dressed. She looked disdainfully at the bank card in her hand. There wasn't even a name on it. Just as she was about to throw the card out, the bank manager happened to walk by. When he saw the black card, he was so unnerved that his legs got weak.
Miss Gray, what's going on here?" the manager asked her abruptly.
"Mr. Johnson, this man has been causing trouble," she explained. Of course, she didn't forget to give Kevin a snooty look. Johnson was so angry that he muttered to himself,
"We really have to do better training."
He paused and then explained,
"This is a black card. There isn't another one in all of Chicago."
The VIPs who were watching the scene were shocked, and the employee felt incredibly awkward. "Sir, are you sure you aren't mistaken?" she asked hesitantly.
"Nonsense, Miss Gray,"
Johnson said as he took back the card and walked over to Kevin.
"Sir, my name is Evan Johnson. I'm the manager of this branch. It would be our pleasure to serve you,"
he said apologetically, trying very hard not to let his voice quiver. In all his years working for the bank, he had never seen one of these cards. "I don't need any help, thank you. I'm just making a withdrawal," Kevin said as he sneered at the rude employee. "Am I qualified to stand here now?" "Sir, I'm so sorry," Miss Gray replied ever so politely. She was mortified.
"Sir, please accept our apologies for this misunderstanding. If you need anything at all, please let me know," Johnson said with a big smile.
"I've already told Miss Gray how much I'd like to withdraw," Kevin said nonchalantly. "I'm sure she can handle things now."
"Okay," Johnson said amiably.
Then he turned around and reprimanded her.
"What are you standing here for? Take care of the transaction right away."
"Yes, sir," she said as she walked behind the counter.
"Sir, please, come with me to wait in the private room," Johnson invited him.
Their attitude had completely changed, and the VIPs who had witnessed the spectacle were speechless. When they got to the private room, Kevin sat down casually on the sofa and crossed his legs. Johnson smiled and walked over to the cappuccino machine and offered Kevin a coffee. A few minutes later, the embarrassed employee came into the room struggling to carry a large canvas bank bag with both hands. "Sir, the $2 million withdrawal you requested," Miss Gray said apprehensively. She could barely look Kevin in the eye. She was so embarrassed by how rudely she treated Kevin when he walked in. "You know, I don't really think I need to carry around that much cash. How about if you take out $500 and put the rest back in the vault?" Kevin said as he leisurely sipped his cappuccino. "Yes, sir," she replied. She knew that Kevin was just screwing with her, but she realized she deserved it. Kevin slowly walked out of the VIP room accompanied by Mr. Johnson and Miss Gray. He stuffed the $500 in his pocket. As he stepped into the lobby, Officer Emmett walked over to him and asked, "Kevin, what are you doing here? Didn't you want me to meet you here? I figured as long as I'm at the bank, I might as well make a withdrawal." Kevin smiled. Officer Emmett nodded slightly, but then she noticed that Kevin was coming out of the VIP area. "But what were you doing at the VIP window?" Officer Emmett asked as she looked him straight in the eyes. She was here to do some banking too, but she had to do it at an ordinary window. Officer Emmett knew very well that the bank's VIP room was only accessible to millionaires. "Maybe they let me use it because the regular lines were getting too long," Kevin suggested as he shrugged his shoulders. That seemed to make sense to Officer Emmett, so she decided to change the subject. "Kevin, please don't misunderstand Blair's actions. He didn't do any of that on purpose." Before she could finish, Kevin interrupted her. "I'm not here to talk about him. Let's find a place to sit down so you can explain to me what's going on with that bracelet." Suddenly, there was a scream from the lobby. "We're being robbed!" The bank's front door was kicked open by 5 men in black. One of them fired his gun at the ceiling and shouted, "Everyone, on the floor! Put all your valuables on the floor in front of you and don't look up." The head bank robber shouted, "If you value your lives, you'll do as we say." The shocked customers hit the floor and tried to follow the thieves' instructions. Officer Emmett was about to react, but saw that there were too many armed robbers and she didn't want any innocent people to get hurt. "What a bunch of scum," she said to Kevin. "Robbing a bank in broad daylight. Well, if they came here at night, there'd be nothing to rob. How can you joke at a time like this? What else can we do?" Kevin pointed out with a smirk. "Should we go stop them?" "No, if they're brazen enough to come down here in the daytime, they're probably prepared for resistance. There are too many innocent people here. We need to wait for a better opportunity."
Go to the vault and bring back $8 million in unmarked bills. And don't try anything you'll regret. Well, we don't have that much money right now.
The robber responded by shooting Johnson in the thigh.
I won't say this again. $8 million in cash right now.
Too many customers have taken out their money the past few days, plus a lot of companies have withdrawn their funds to put into the stock market. We really don't have $8 million in the vault, Johnson said as he gritted his teeth in pain.
One more word and you're a dead man.
Just as he was about to pull the trigger, Officer Emmett stood up holding her badge in her hand. Chicago PD, you're all under arrest. Put down your weapons and place your hands on your heads. Kevin, who was still lying on the floor, looked up at Officer Emmett and shook his head in disbelief. What the hell is wrong with her? Didn't we agree to wait for a better chance? All the men in black turned to look at Officer Emmett. The group's leader looked around the room and then looked back at her.
Sure, officer.
Then he paused and said,
Wait a second. Why should we listen to you?
Oh my God, I thought she had better judgment than this. No backup and no gun. Why should they listen to you?
You two go and tie her up and throw her into the car.
He started walking towards Officer Emmett while he said this. As the two men moved in to tie her up, Officer Emmett spun around and made a savage sidekick to the first one's gut. Then she spun in the other direction and threw a high snap kick to the other man's head. A gunshot rang out and dust floated from the ceiling.
You're as good at fighting as you are beautiful,
the man smiled creepily and said.
Let's see which is faster, your foot or my gun.
He pointed to all the people lying on the floor and threatened.
We've got 5 guns. How many of them do you think you can save?
You're a piece of crap, Officer Emmett shouted angrily. Kevin realized that she'd stood up and drawn their attention to keep Johnson from getting shot in the head. But now the robber was threatening everyone in the room. Kevin jumped up and said to Officer Emmett, Go and check his injuries. Leave these guys to me. By the time Officer Emmett realized what was going on, Kevin had already leapt in front of the man and kicked the gun out of his hand. Then he threw a lightning-fast punch to the man's head. He dropped like a sack of cement.
Stay back,
the man shouted as he saw that Kevin was getting close enough to reach him. In fear for his life, he started to aim towards the hostages. Kevin saw that the gun was pointed at a little girl who was lying on the floor next to her mother. He knew this wasn't good and sprang between the man and the little girl just as he pulled the trigger. I told you to shoot me. Why did you shoot at someone else? What the hell is wrong with you? Don't you know how to rob a bank? Kevin, Officer Emmett shouted nervously. Why don't you put down the gun and face me like a real man? Kevin said with a mocking smile.
Shut up,
the man yelled as he turned toward Kevin. But he was so nervous that he accidentally pulled the trigger again. But luckily, the man's shot was aimed at the floor and didn't hit anyone. In desperation, the man suddenly grabbed a little boy who was next to him. Let's talk this over.
Talk? There's nothing to talk about. You're going to stay right here and we're going to leave.
The one nearest to Kevin immediately hit him on the head with the butt of his gun.
That's what you get for interfering.
Blood immediately started flowing down from Kevin's head. Fortunately, he was in pretty good condition, so the blow didn't knock him out. The gang's leader turned to his men and ordered them.
You guys go and put all the money in your backpacks.
A minute later, the 5 of them ran out of the front door with 5 bags of money in their young hostage. After the men left, everyone was relieved, except the boy's father. And Officer Emmett and Kevin knew that it wasn't over yet. Kevin, are you all right? Officer Emmett asked Kevin with concern. I'm fine, Kevin said as he tore off a piece of his shirt and tied it to his head to stop the bleeding. Should we chase after them? I'll chase after them. You get to the hospital, Officer Emmett said worriedly. She had been very impressed by Kevin's courage under fire. I'll be okay. Let's go, Kevin said to her as he headed towards the door. Those scumbags! They stole all that money and still took a hostage, Officer Emmett complained as she followed Kevin to his car. That boy is so young. Even if we manage to save him, I'm afraid he'll never get over it. She was right. The young boy was in grave danger. They were probably afraid that the police would follow them, so they grabbed a hostage. Kevin said calmly as he drove after them. "Call 911 immediately and ask them to check the surveillance cameras along State Street. Also ask them to send backup, or I'm afraid we won't be able to save the boy." "I know. You do realize I'm a cop, right?" Officer Emmett replied as she was pulling out her phone to call the station. "Hello? It's Lieutenant Emmett." She gave instructions to the sergeant who took her call, and then she turned her attention back to Kevin, who had just been shot a few minutes ago. About 10 minutes later, the men thought they might be getting away with their robbery. As they raced up Fullerton, one of them said excitedly, "Man, we hit the jackpot this time."
Bullshit. We could have done a lot better. Who would have thought that such a big bank wouldn't even have a lousy $8 million?
The man said bitterly. Suddenly, the driver looked in the rearview mirror and started to panic.
"Hey man, we got a tail. I think it's the guy from the bank."
"Damn it! How's that even possible? Didn't you just shoot him?" another one said in horror.
"What are you panicking for? There are only two of them. Just him and that cop," the leader said coolly. "Just keep your foot on the gas and stick with the plan. As long as we get to the boat, we'll be fine."
He was acting like he was calm, but the panic showed in the man's eyes. Kevin had been shot and hit on the head, but he kept coming after them. What kind of man was he? "What if we get caught? How are we going to kill him?" one of them asked.
"We won't have to. Have you already forgotten what I told you?" the man answered grimly. "Maybe that guy can fight, but we've got a hostage."
While they were discussing their options, Kevin and Officer Emmett were coming up with a plan of their own. "Kevin, hurry up and drive faster. Let's not lose them," Officer Emmett said impatiently. She couldn't believe that she was actually chasing the suspects in a... It was probably worth more than what the robbers had stolen from the bank. "Don't worry, we're almost at the lake. They'll have to stop soon," Kevin replied as he focused on the big black car ahead of them. Then he thought for a second and said, "You'd better let your backup know that we're heading for the marina. I'll bet they plan to switch to a speedboat." He knew his car could catch up with them in 2 seconds, but if he got too close, he couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't hurt the hostage. Officer Emmett noticed the bright red stain on Kevin's shirt. She asked him earnestly, "How are you holding up? That looks pretty bad." "It's nothing serious. I can hold on for a while longer," Kevin replied calmly. "This probably isn't the right moment, but there's something I want to know." Officer Emmett stared at Kevin and asked, "You could have dodged that bullet, but why did you put yourself in danger like that?" Kevin didn't reply to her question. He just kept driving, keeping just far enough behind the robbers so that they wouldn't get jumpy. When they got near the marina, the men grabbed their hostage and ran from the car. Kevin put the bracelet inside his jacket. Maybe it could at least deflect a bullet. Officer Emmett and Kevin jumped out of the car. Just as they were about to catch up with them, the group of men suddenly stopped.
"Stay back or the hostage is dead,"
the head robber turned around and shouted. The thieves were getting angry. One of them said, "If it wasn't for these two bastards, we'd already be counting our money."
"We can count it after we kill them,"
the other man said optimistically. "Cut the crap. Throw down your weapons, let the child go, and put your hands on your heads. This is your last warning," Officer Emmett shouted.
"Stay where you are," the leader hollered back. "Take another step and he's finished."
The man pointed his gun right at the kid's back while he used him as a shield. The little boy was seriously frightened and he couldn't stop crying. "Let the child go, you worthless son of a bitch," Officer Emmett growled. Kevin patted Officer Emmett on the shoulder and took a step forward. "So, you tough guys are using a child as a human shield. I'm really impressed. Very manly," Kevin said sarcastically.
"Shut up. If it wasn't for you, we'd have been out of that bank in 2 minutes and we wouldn't even need a hostage," the man said viciously. In the past few years, he and his gang had committed dozens of robberies, but they'd never failed. Until now. Kevin had messed up their plans. "I'll tell you what. If you want a hostage so bad, take me," Kevin said in a very serious tone. When Officer Emmett heard him say this, she turned her head in shock. She looked at Kevin and didn't know what to say. "So, you want to be a hero. You got it," the gang's leader said angrily. Come on, raise your hands over your head and walk over here. Slowly. If you play any tricks, you know what I'll do."
As soon as the man finished speaking, Kevin started to sneer. He slowly raised his hands and walked toward him. "Kevin!" Officer Emmett shouted in shock. Before this incident, Officer Emmett would have never thought that Kevin would risk his life to save a little girl and then offer himself as a hostage for a little boy. Why did everyone in the Jones family keep calling him a bum? When Kevin was less than 6 feet away, the man let go of the little boy. The kid immediately ran towards Officer Emmett, still crying uncontrollably.
"Come over here,"
the man roared at Kevin. "Don't worry, I didn't bring any weapons with me," Kevin retorted as he continued walking towards the man. Then Kevin made his move. He punched the man in the center of his chest and sent him flying backward. His men were shocked and they definitely didn't want to face Kevin again. They just snatched their leader and ran away as quickly as they could. After they were gone, Kevin grabbed his side and complained, "Damn, this hurts." When he punched the bank robber, the wounds on his head and side had started to bleed again. "Kevin, lie down and breathe calmly," Officer Emmett said as she carried the little boy over to him. Then she took off her jacket and held it against Kevin's side to stop the bleeding. "Help is on the way," she reassured him. "That's okay. I'll just lie here and bleed for a while," Kevin said jokingly. "I'm sorry I got you into this," Officer Emmett answered quietly. She was feeling pretty guilty because she was, after all, a police lieutenant, but she had ended up letting Kevin do her job today. "That's okay," Kevin said. "It's not like I had anything else to do." "Just hang in there," Officer Emmett said as she nodded her head. "What are we going to do now?" Kevin asked in confusion. "Those guys are probably halfway across Lake Michigan by now. Even if you wanted to, I don't think you could catch up to them." "They can wait. Let's get you some help first. I'll call the bank to let them know the kid's all right," Officer Emmett said calmly. "That's all right," the little boy said. "Just send me back to the bank. This man needs to go to the hospital." Kevin and Officer Emmett were stunned to hear the kid say that. "I didn't know a child could have so much common sense," Kevin said in surprise. "Me neither," Officer Emmett said with a smile. They relaxed a little when they finally heard the sirens approaching.
Hi, Kevin here. If you're wondering what happens next, then stay tuned on the Pocket FM Universe channel for more episodes.